All right, today we're going to continue with our lesson on filling text with an image. You can see here's an example of text that I chose, a word that inspires me. You'll be choosing a word that inspires you. And I filled it with multiple images in the background, right? These are all patterns that I chose. I downloaded them from Google Images and then placed them on my document and created a clipping mask. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I did that and give you a couple of other options for how you could complete this assignment. The first thing I'm going to do is go down to my Windows menu. I'm going to find Adobe Photoshop. If you don't see it easily, you can just type in photo and you'll see it'll come up as one of the top hits, Adobe Photoshop, Creative Cloud 2019. I want to just step back for 1 second and remind you that you don't have to choose patterns. I want you to choose your own unique style to fill your text. So the first thing is I'm going to just step back to our last lesson. Remember, we opened a single image. We grabbed our text tool. We typed in a word, positioned it on our background. We moved our image above the text, went to Layer, Create Clipping Mask, right? Then we were able to take the image and adjust it so that we, like, an important part of the image, in this case the surfer, was visible, right? And then again we just went to Layer, New Layer, we'll move it to the bottom, and I'm going to just choose background, and that was it. So today, looking at the assignment, we want to create a document that's 4¼ inches tall, 11 inches wide, and 300 pixels per inch. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to set those dimensions to 11 inches wide, 4.25 inches tall, and I'm going to make sure my resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to hit Create. I'm going to choose the word strength, and so I'm going to actually start today by typing that text, and then I want to make that text fill as much of the screen as possible. I want it to be as close as possible to 11 inches wide. So in this case, I might be happy with the font, but I'm going to change this to, 190. And that fits pretty nicely. So the next step is I have to choose images. So if I go to Google Images, I can just go ahead and search for patterns, right? And you can see, like, right here as an example is the first pattern I'm going to use. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the image, right? And then over here on the image itself, I'm just going to say Save Image As, and I'll give it a name, like Pattern 1. Okay? I'll hit Save, and it'll download. And I can go through and I can choose other patterns that are interesting to me. And this is good for anything that you want to look up on Google Images. You can see there's designs, right? There's all different things, including images that you might want to put as part of your background. Now I went a step further just to try and speed up the process for this video. And what I've done is in my Inspiring Word folder, for the word strength, I've chosen 7 patterns from Google Images, all that I downloaded the same way as I downloaded this one right here that's on my desktop. Okay? With those images, I'm going to open them in Photoshop. All right? So I'm going to go to, once I've downloaded all of my images, let me close this. I'm just going to go ahead and go File, Open. I'm going to navigate to the folder that they're in. So desktop, inspiring word, strength, right? And I can open each one of those. And you'll see that we're going to open in different tabs. Now, the reason I need to open these first is I need to make sure that their settings are correct. So I'm going to go to image, image size, and remember that the height of my document is only 4.25 inches. So I'm just going to set my height, right, to 4.25 inches. That'll make it take up the entire height of my document. And I need to make sure I change the resolution to be the same as the resolution on the document that I just set up with the text. So I've set it to 4.25 inches tall and 300 resolution. I'm going to select OK. Okay, and now that one's done. I can hit File Save or Control S. And I'm ready for my second image. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. Image size. Right, I'm going to make sure the image height is 4.25 inches. And you can see again, I need to change the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to hit OK. Right, I can just hit Save really quickly. Pattern 3. This is very redundant now. Image size. Right, I can change the height to 4.25. I'm going to select OK. Here's my next image. Image size. Again, I'm going to change the height to 4.25. I'm going to select OK. Now you'll notice patterns 4 and patterns 5 look very similar. The reason is I literally took the same image and all I did was I rotated it. Okay, so if you want to rotate an image, you just go to Image, Rotation, and you can rotate it 180 degrees. Now it's the same as this one. Okay, in this case, I'm going to go back to Image Rotation, and that's because I want to use a different pattern for a different letter. Let's go to Image Size. I'm going to again change the height to 4.25 inches. Select OK. Make sure I've saved all these so far. We're on pattern 6. We're almost there. Image size. Changing the height to 4.25 inches. Changing my resolution to 300 pixels per inch. Control S, File Save. And then the last one here, image size. Change the height to 4.25 inches. Resolution to 300. Select OK. And save. Now that I've done that, right, the next step is really just to position them. So similar to assignments that we've completed in the past, I'm going to go to Windows Arrange, Float All in Windows, and that's going to make it so that I can see each of the patterns that I've chosen for my document. So here it is. So all I have to do now is I'm going to simply drag this in. And what I want to do is actually here, let's, I just dragged that one in. So we'll leave that there. And let me just move these over here to the side. That way I'll be able to see my layers panel. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my text to the very top layer so I can sort of see where this is going to sit. I'm just going to move this over, right, so that it only covers the S. Okay. I'm going to then find pattern 2, which got hidden back here. And I'm going to drag it in. I can close it now that I moved it to this file. I'm going to put it behind layer 1, so it's going to actually slide behind here. And the reason for that is I can set this up so that the S has this color, right? But the T will have this pattern right here, and the R is going to have this sort of paisley pattern right here. Let's find my next pattern, pattern 3. Okay, so now pattern 3, I'm just going to drag it onto my document. And that one works just as it is. Okay, and that's going to be over the E, right? So you can see the E is entirely covered with that, but it doesn't go onto the R. If I wanted it to, it could. It would depend on your design style. I'm going to close that. I'm going to look for pattern 4. Okay, and I just named mine in the order that I wanted them to go. So for you, you might not be able to do that. And again, you can see this working nicely. In fact, this is working so nicely, I could use all 3 of these, right? Because the N, G, and T all have different patterns, okay? So again, an option as you like work through this. To me though, like I'm not that fond of this blue pattern. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to overlay it with this green texture. That is my 5th pattern. Here comes pattern 6. Okay, and then lastly, pattern 7. And when I'm done dragging everything on, I can just close these and I can move this back up here so that I can see it full screen. And I'll move this all the way across. All right. So now, just like last time, basically what we're going to do is I'm going to move my text below all of these layers and simply just go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. I know what I mean. Let me just actually take all of these layers really quickly. And I'm going to just go and say flatten image. That didn't go right. I'm going to highlight those layers, go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask, and there we go. Sorry about that. So we'll just back up for 1 second. Okay, I had my text on top. All I did was I took my text and I moved it to the bottom of all my layers, so it's below all of these. And then to highlight each layer, I just held down Control on my keyboard, clicked on each layer, and then went to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. All right. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and I can go to this drop-down menu and say Flatten Image, and it'll create it into my final document for me. Okay. Once you're done with this, you're going to go to File, Export, and you're going to go Save for Web. Very important, right? We're gonna choose 4 up, but we're not going to change the image size. Your image size is going to be quite large. Just make sure that it's set to JPEG. Hit Save, and you can hit your name and put it in your folder, and you're ready to go. And don't forget, you always want to save your Photoshop file, right? We're just going to go to File, Save As, and again, we can call this string, right? but in this case, it's going to be saved as a Photoshop document, so we can go back and edit it anytime. All right. So that's one example. Let me give you another example really quickly. We're going to go to File, and you can see I already created this document size. So I'm just going to click on that, 11 inches wide by 4¼ inches tall. And I'm going to say Create. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to grab my text tool, and I'm going to type in a word that means a lot to me. So in this case, or that inspires me. So in this case, I'm going to type in adventure. And I'm going to change the text so that it fits like almost perfectly on my document. Might even be able to get it a slightly bigger. Let's see. Maybe I'll make it 175. See how that fits. It does. Great. So I've got adventure. And instead of using patterns from Google Images, this time what I did is I just sent myself a few photos, right, to my email. And I can show you really quickly what I did there. Just going to log into my Gmail. And you can see right here, I sent myself an image. I sent it from my phone, right, just to my email here at school. And then I'm able to hover over it and click the download button. Right? When I click the download button, it's going to pop up right here. And it's actually as simple as, once it downloads, just dragging it onto Photoshop. Okay? So let's actually use that photo. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to move it over here. And to place it, I'm going to hit Enter. And watch this. I'm just going to simply go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. Right? And now that image has moved into the text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over. Let's actually move it over here. And I want to try and get everybody so that you can see them. We'll try that. We'll see how it works in the end. So we'll start with that one. What I did is I actually, in my Inspiring Word folder, I created a second folder and I called it Adventure. Okay, and so here's the 3 pictures I chose. Here's one of them right here. The next one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this image onto my canvas. Okay, and once I'm happy with the placement, I'll hit Enter. That'll place it on my document. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And that image is looking a little bit large to me, right? So I can try and let's open it in a different window. Sorry about that. So here we go. So we're going to continue. I'm going to go to my adventure folder, and let's just go ahead and open this photo. And I'm going to do what I did in the last one. I'm just going to change the image size, right, to be 4¼ inches tall. And I'm going to change it to 300 pixels per inch. Let's see if that helps me. So again, I'm going to go to Window, Arrange, and then Float All in Windows. That'll make it easy for me. And here's my adventure. I'm just going to drag this guy in right here. I think this is going to be better already. And I'm just going to go ahead and say Layer, Create Clipping Mask. I'm going to try and get the image in the photo as best I can. And then I'm just going to grab one more image. We'll grab this one right here. And again, you can see that your image might, you might have to do some adjustments to your image. You have to hit enter to place it. And you might decide that an image doesn't really work too well for this project, in which case you can go back and you can choose a different image. But again, I'm going to take that image, I'm going to go to layer, create clipping mask, and here's my final image. I can move it over a little bit. I'm going to move it down so that it's as visible as possible. And that looks pretty good. And so again, when I'm done with that, I'm just going to go to File, Save As, or Save. Save it as my Photoshop document. I'll call it Adventure, since that's the text I used. And then I'm going to export it, going to File, Export, and then Save for Web. And remember, for this project, we're going to save it as a JPEG, but we're going to keep the image size as is, so it should be about 3,300 pixels wide and 1,275 pixels tall. Hit Save. Give it a name. Make sure you save it in the right folder. So this is my adventure. Hit Save, and then when you're done, you're able to submit it. Hopefully that was helpful, and have fun.